This is a 15-minute meditation where we train our attention to let go of its tight focus and to open up. In this way, we train our attention to be wide, receptive, and stable, becoming aware of our environment and aware of our entire conscious experience. This training helps us learn when we might need to move our attention and where we may need to place it next. This meditation can be done sitting down, and a lot of people like to do it standing up. If standing, then standing in a comfortable, dignified pose with the feet hip distance apart, the back straight but not stiff, and the arms relaxed at the sides. This gives the body a sense of the receptivity and openness that we're trying to cultivate with our attention. If sitting, then sitting comfortably with the back straight and a sense of openness in the chest and body. Closing the eyes if you wish, or lowering the gaze. Beginning by directing the flashlight of attention at the breath, just as we have been doing in our other meditations. This is always where we begin our meditations, holding the flashlight steady, focused on the breath. This is like our home base, where we return if we get overwhelmed or distracted or stuck. You can come back to this home base whenever you need and as often as you need. Spending a few moments here at home base, steadying the attention, holding our flashlight stable. Now broadening the awareness, letting the tight focus on the breath recede into the background so that you are no longer selecting any specific target. An analogy might be imagining the mind like a river, and you are standing on the riverbank. The river of the mind carries thoughts and memories, emotions and sensations, all of which float into our awareness and then continue to float down the river out of our awareness. So taking a stance of simply observing what is floating down the river and not engaging with it. You may discover that you have jumped into the river, engaged with a thought or emotion. When you notice this, without judgment, without frustration, simply step back to the riverbank and return to the stance of watching the contents of the mind float by, like watching boats floating down a river. There is no need to label the contents of the mind as it floats by. There's no need to evaluate what is appearing in the mind. Simply watching, letting it float by. If the mind wanders, as it will, allow it to wander down the river, maintaining your stance on the riverbank, watching the river float by. If you find that you are caught in a thought, that you're stuck, that you're having a hard time returning to the riverbank, then go back to home base. Go back to steadying the flashlight on the breath until you feel stable. When you are ready, step back to the riverbank and watch the river of thoughts go by. Observing the contents of the mind moving through awareness with a neutral stance. This is the muscle that we're training with this exercise. No need to analyze or assess what is going through the mind. No need to engage with the contents of the mind. Simply monitoring the contents of the mind like watching boats float down a river. And now, as we approach the end of this time of meditation, bringing the mind back to home base. This is where we begin, and this is where we end our times of meditation. Tightening the attention, focusing it and directing it to the breath. Finding the place on the body where you can notice the movement of the breath most clearly, and holding the flashlight of attention there for a few moments. Now moving the flashlight of attention to the ears and listening fully to the sound of the bell to mark the end of this time of meditation.